Go ahead, the video.
I went in the woods today. They are bad.
We need
All
to
right,
sign
being
in.
7 o'clock, we'll call the common council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call has been taken.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, adoption of the agenda. I have amendment to remove line B3. Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, second by Mr. Besaw. Any additions or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of July 16th, 2024 and July 31, 2024 special common council meeting minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Motion made by Mr. Fiche,
Second.
second by Mr. Hess. Any additions or corrections to those? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried by all. All right, authorization to pay the bills, Mr. Dorsey.
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion to authorize to pay the bills in the amount of $1,184,708.71.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey,
Second.
second by Mr. Fiche. Any addition or corrections to the bills? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried 8-0. All right, moving along into public comment. Public comment? Public comment. Hearing no public comment, we will keep on trucking. Standing and special committees. We'll start off with Board of Public Works, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Your Honor. Board of Public Works meeting was held on Monday, August 5th. Meeting is called to order at 6:04. Motion was made to approve the agenda and seconded, carried by all. There was no public input. There was a motion and second for the approval of the July 1st meeting minutes. Motion carried by all. Wastewater treatment plan update, wastewater notes enclosed in the packet. Next was approve and recommend a council and ordinance for new stop sign locations. To address complaints about several uncontrolled intersections, Director Garski discussed an ordinance to correct 3 of these locations. They are at the following intersections: Walmer Lane at Southland Lane, Lawrence Street at East Spring Street, and Lawrence Street at East Cook Street. Motion made to second to approve and recommend to council the new streetlight locations. Motion carried by all. Enterprise leased vehicle update. Director Garski provided a financial information related to the recent leased vehicles agreement with Enterprise. This included recent rental price and the sales price of the vehicles they replaced. No motion or vote was taken. Next was discuss and approve the questionnaire for the citywide garbage collection. A questionnaire was discussed to research whether or not residents would like contracted residential garbage collection. 3 questions were presented and 1 more was added to discussion. These questions would go out to the residents in the utility bill. Motion made and seconded to approve the questionnaire for the citywide garbage collection with an addition question asking participating residents, do you pay for garbage service currently? Motion was carried 6-2. Director's report. The director's memo was included in the packet and was reviewed by the board. No anniversaries this month. Director Garski provided an update on the downtown project, advising them on delays with concrete work, light poles, luminaires, and concrete ceiling. Phase one has to be done prior to moving to phase 2. Oshkosh Street plan overview done. Meeting in August for patching program. Future agenda items: citywide garbage collection services, the budget, and bulk overflow pickup. Time and date of the next Public Works meeting is Monday, September 3rd. Will be coordinated with the Park and Recs Committee meeting. Being no further discussion, motion is made and second adjourn at 7 o'clock. Motion carried by all. I would also like to include that the July 31st, 2024 minutes were distributed in our packs. Make a motion to consider waiving the rules to pass an ordinance upon one reading.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Haas, seconded by Mr. Herter to consider for waiving the rules to pass an ordinance upon one reading. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. The motion is carried 8-0. Yeah. 9-0.
Make a motion to approval of the ordinance to add stop sign at Walmer and Southland, Lawrence and East Spring, and Lawrence and East Cook Street.
Motion made by Mr. Haas, seconded by Mr. Barrington. For approval of ordinance to add stop signs to Walmer, Southland, Lawrence, East Spring, and Lawrence, East Cook. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballot. Mr. Herter? That motion carried 9-0 as well.
I'd like to make a motion, consider approval of utility bill insert with a questionnaire surveying residents' interest in citywide garbage collection.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Haas, seconded by Mr. Herter for approval of utility billing insert with questionnaire surveying residents' interest in citywide garbage collection. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 7-2.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. Moving on, finance personnel, Mr. Dorsey.
Yes, Your Honor. Finance Personnel Committee met Wednesday, August 7th. Meeting was called to order at 5:15. Motion made by Barrington, seconded by Roberts to approve the agenda. Motion was made by Shea and seconded by Roberts to approve the July 3rd, 2024 meeting minutes. There was no public comment. Administrator Hurst presented the 2024 PC and South Solution IT Consulting Services Agreement. Motion was made by Roberts, seconded by Visa to recommend to council approval of the forthcoming contract PC South Solutions IT Consulting, which will wait a month. The 2023 year-end audit was presented via Zoom by Brent Nelson, CPA audit partner Johnson Block and Company. Mr. Nelson and City Finance Director Radke responded to questions. Upon completion of the questions of the 2023 audit, the committee thanked Mr. Nelson and Finance Director Radke and accepted the audit. We discussed the monthly reports. Being no further business, meeting was adjourned. The next finance committee meeting will be held in the council chambers on September 4th at 5:15. Can I make a motion to approve the monthly license list?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, seconded by Mr. Roberts. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried by all.
And that is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Park and Recreation, Mr. Bisa.
Thank you, Your Honor. Park and Rec Committee met on Monday, August 5th. Meeting was called to order at 5:23. After the pledge, motion was approved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Motion carried 8-0. Public input, there was none. Second, the motion was made to approve the June 3rd meeting minutes. Motion carried 8-0. Consider and approve an agreement with the London Heritage Historical Village. Director Saul brought to committee an agreement in cooperation with the London Heritage Historical Village for the train depot building. The building related to the site is cared for and maintained by the group, but is located on city property. No formal signed document has been discovered to date. This will define the roles and responsibilities of each party related to the buildings, property, and general upkeep of the site. Motion was made and second to approve the recommendation to council to consider and approve the agreement with the London Historical Village. Motion carried 8-0. Consider and approve an agreement with the Wolf River Art League. Director Saul brought to committee an agreement in cooperation with Wolf River Art League regarding the sculpture trail, Life on the River. This document outlines ownership, the exhibition period, installation, care, and liability of the sculptures. The approval of each individual piece by the committee is part of the agreement. As part of this process, artists will provide details on where and how they plan to install the sculptures and anticipated maintenance, determination of the exhibition period, and then provide structural detail and a sketch of the sculpture. Motion was made and second to approve and recommend to council to consider approval agreement with the Wolf River Art League. Motion carried by all 8-0. Consider and approve the first sculpture for the Wolf River Art League sculpture. Director Saul introduced the members of the Wolf River Art League to the committee to explain the first sculpture to be erected for approval for the sculpture trail, Life on the River. Renderings of the proposed project were presented to the committee with necessary information by drawings and simple model. The project involves the use of engraved, laser cut stainless steel fish varying sizes. They will be attached to a standing structure created by local artisans. The structure will be secured at the head of the river trail on the hexagon concrete pad that is already there. These fish are part of a fundraising effort for the trail, with size of fish relating to the monetary donation. A 5-inch minnow will be $20, all the way to a 60-inch sturgeon for $1,500, with 6 levels of fish available. In the center will be a natural seating area created with stone. Motion was made and second to approve the first sculpture of the Wolf River Art League sculpture trail. Motion carried 8-0. Consider an ordinance for outdoor open container entertainment event. Director Saul proposed to committee outdoor open container entertainment event ordinance for special events. The ordinance will set guidelines for special event coordinators detailing how they will need to sell the beverages, restrictions on dates and times, and when open containers can be allowed. By definition, only a bona fide nonprofit will be eligible to apply for this permit, according to temporary Class B/temporary Class B Chapter 125 of Wisconsin State statutes. Motion was made and seconded to consider an ordinance for outdoor open container entertainment events. The motion carried by all 8-0. Director's report. Director Saul report was included in the agenda packet and reviewed by the committee. Additional comments noted as follows. In September, we'll be given a presentation to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Waterways Commission for grant monies towards the boat launch overflow lot project. Discussed with DNR related to pursuing an updated tree inventory, handling of the tree removal and cleanup of the trees affected by the emerald ash borer, and application for urban forestry grant. A party is interested in creating a group for tennis court improvements to include pickleball use, working with a family that is interested in creating a capital project in memory of a loved one. Applied for an opportunity to work with a student from UW-Madison Department of Engineering, Landscape and Design on a placemaking project geared towards the Pearl Street area. Staff anniversaries to report: Connor LeBear, Parks caretaker, 2 years of service; Robert Cupp, senior van driver, 5 years; Luke Hammond, street/park superintendent, 9 years. Chairman report: there was none. Future agenda items: proclamation for urban forestry grant, special events policy updates, budget, and future park tour. The next Park and Rec Committee meeting will be on Tuesday, September 3rd. Meeting will start at 5:15. There being no further discussion, motion was made to adjourn the meeting at 6:02. Motion carried by all. I would look for approved consideration. Let's see, I lost my train of thought. I'd look for a consider approval of an agreement with the London Historical Village.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Besaw, seconded by Mr. Dorsey for agreement with New London Historical Village. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0.
I look for consider and approval of an agreement with the Wolf River Artley.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Besaw, seconded by Mr. Hess for agreement with Wolf River Artley. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0 as well.
I would look for considering approval of waiving the rules to pass an ordinance upon one reading.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Besaw, second by Mr. Herder. Any further discussion on that? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0 as well.
And last but not least, I look for approval of an ordinance to allow for open containers at outdoor special events.
Motion made by Mr. Besaw,
Second.
second by Mr. Dorsey of ordinance to allow for open containers at outdoor special events. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0 as well.
And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Besaw. Planning Commission, Mr. Ritchie.
Planning Commission met July 25th, 2024. Meeting was called order at 5:15. A motion was made to adopt the agenda and seconded, carried by all. The May 23rd, 2024 meeting minutes were reviewed. The June meeting was canceled. Motion was made and seconded, carried by all. Henry Allen from Ellers made the introduction explaining components of the proposed amendment of the boundaries and project plan of tax incremental district number 5 and creation of the tax incremental district number 7. First item on the agenda, we had a public hearing regarding the proposed amendment of the boundaries and the project plan for the incremental district number 5. There was no public comments and the proposal of the public hearing was closed. Second action item on to determine the planning commission wanted to create a resolution to the council for changes to TID number 5. A motion was made to create a resolution approving and amending the project plan and boundaries of the tax incremental district number 5. Motion was made and seconded and carried by all. The third action item on the agenda was to have myself open a public hearing regarding the proposed creation of tax increment district number 7. There were no public comments on the proposal and the public hearing was closed. Fourth action item on the agenda was to determine if the planning commission wanted to create a resolution to the council for the creation of TID number 7. A motion was made to create a resolution approving creation of TID number 7. Motion was seconded and carried by all. Fourth action item on the agenda was a proposal for a CSM certified survey map for the property near the intersection of Cook and Fremont Street for Hillcourt Trucking. The area was previously divided to allow for a planned unit development that was later abandoned. The combination would result in a single parcel. There's one error that needs to be corrected, as 2 of the smaller parcels have the wrong owner information for county records. A motion was made and seconded to approve the CSM with the correction. The fifth action item on the agenda was a review proposal to make a zoning change for a parcel 33-12-76-44 from R2 to B1. Motion was made to rezone the parcel and seconded carried by all. At this point in the meeting, the discussion was turned over to a representative from Bandywall and Associates to lead in a discussion about the process of rewriting our zoning ordinance. Bandywall provided tables and language to discuss zoning districts and land use. A motion was made and seconded to adjourn the meeting at approximately 6:40. I gotta have a motion to change those outfits, right? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to I lost my thing. We're planning to create a resolution to the council to create TID number 7.
We do have here, yeah.
We have Harry Allen from Ellers online too, if anybody's got any questions along the way. So right now is motion's been made for considering action on resolution approving an amendment to the project plan and boundaries of tax incremental district number 5. That motion was made by Mr. Ritchie,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Besaw. Any further discussion?
Harry, is there anything you want to add before we jump into the resolutions here?
If you guys want a presentation of that overviews what we're doing with the amendment to TID 5, and then I can also talk about TID 7 when we get to that point. Would you like me to go through the presentation? It's substantially similar to what was given to Plan Commission.
Anybody request that? Hearing none, I think we're all right. Thank you, Harry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
can I interject one thing? I think TID 7, Chad, there might be an item on TID 7 that we should discuss with council.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballot. Oh, hold on one second. All right.
There.
That motion's carried 9-0. Mr. Ritchie, we're up for number 3.
Okay, I'm making a motion that council approves a resolution to create the creation of TID number 7.
So the motion is action on resolution creating tax incremental district to number 7, approving its project plan and establishing its boundaries. Motion made by Mr. Ritchie.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Dorsey.
Having a
Harry?
discussion.
Harry, if you'd like to present.
Yeah. Let me pull up my screen here real quick. Okay. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna zip past all of this stuff and just go to tax increment district number 7. I think it's important to talk about this one. We'll get into this in just a moment. But TID number 7, this is a new tax increment district that's been proposed for the north side of town. It's largely containing undeveloped land. And given the type of development that we expect to occur here, this district will be created as a mixed use district. And the purpose of that district will be to provide funding mechanism for the infrastructure needed to promote development within this area, as well as potential future costs should developer incentives be necessary. With this being a mixed use district, it has a 20-year life. There's a couple findings here. The first is that at least half the area needs to be suitable for mixed use development. Our test shows 84% of the area when you remove stormwater land and proposed street right of way. And then not more than 35% of the total area can go for newly platted residential. We found that only 16% of the area is platted for that. So we are under that test. To give you an idea of some of the development that's being proposed, really the main driver of this district is the new Aldi, which is mostly up at this point. The timing of this tax increment district creation will actually go back to 1/1 of this year. So any development after January 1 of this year will create incremental value within the district, which translates into increment collections. So that first increment collection in the district will happen in 2026. There's some potential future development as shown on the right here. Just sketched out some area for mixed use development, commercial, and some residential that could pop up in some of those areas. And then over on the left, there's a potential Ascension facility that could come on at some point over the 20-year life of the district. So we wanted to keep this really, really conservative and show you kind of what happens if the city goes in and we install the infrastructure on the site, but the only development that happens is the Aldi. So that's what this schedule is showing you right now is a projected development within the district. We only have the Aldi coming on fully constructed in 2025. You might have a partial assessment this year, maybe even a full assessment, depending on how far along they are. So we've estimated that at 2.25 million and no other development within the district. It's a larger area, so there likely will be development, but we just want to keep this super conservative. Looking at the cost of the infrastructure within the area, we broke it into 2 phases. Phase 1 would be funded early on within the life of the TID district. Phase 2 would be funded later on should the cost be needed at that point. So really, let's focus on phase 1. There's an estimated $930,000 of costs for storm sewer, water, sanitary sewer, and street reconstruction. There would be ongoing cost here as well for interest on long-term debt if the city upfronts some of these costs. There would be financing costs for that actual debt issue, and then some ongoing planning and administration costs. Backing up to phase 2, there's additional infrastructure costs that could be needed in phase 2, a potential land purchase should it be needed, and then just a budget here for developer incentives. By including them within the project plan, it gives the city flexibility to enter into development incentives in the future should they be necessary. But that's all subject to a totally different approvals process through a development agreement. So by including it in the plan just provides flexibility, doesn't commit the city to actually providing these in any way, shape, or form into the future. So this is why I wanted to call out TID 7 for further discussion, is because when we run this with a really conservative model of only looking at the Aldi developing on the site, and then the city upfronting those phase 1 infrastructure costs, there is a mismatch between how much increment is generated by the Aldi and the projected debt service that would be paid by the city. So let's break this cash flow down a little bit. On the left, the tax increments coming into the district, this is only from the Aldi. That 2.25 million of value would translate into roughly 43,000 of annual TIF collections. When we look at the projected debt service to fund that 930,000 of upfront capital projects, that debt service, if you do interest only for the first 10 years, you would be paying 48,000 in debt service before you consider any admin costs for this district. So in total, you're looking at around 60,000 of annual cost within the district, but only around 40,000 of annual revenues. So there's a mismatch there between what you're taking in and what you're paying out. So how do we solve that? The best way to solve it is have more development happen within the area, which likely will come with new development, but that could lag. And so what if that new development doesn't come? What's your solution then? Your solution is that you issue that debt on a general obligation basis, which gives the city the ability to levy for that debt service. So you could increase the property tax of the city to support that debt service and make those debt service payments. So we have this projected out for 2029 would be the first year where you might have to have a levy supporting this district to the tune of around 17,000 and then holding flat at 20,000 until 2036, when you would start repaying principal on the debt obligation, at which point those shortfalls go up substantially, and you're looking more of around 120,000 that could be supported by the levy. Hopefully this isn't a situation that the city is in, because this is a larger area. There should be more development that follows once the infrastructure is in place, but we decided that it was the best course of action to go into this TID 7 eyes wide open and look at worst case scenario. So that's what we tried to build within the project plan, was really just looking at what are the known variables and quantities at this point, and what could that result in for the city overall. And based on only the Aldi occurring, we would show around 1.3 million of total levy coming into the district to repay that debt obligation. That's everything I had on TID 7. If there's further discussion, I'm happy to take questions on it.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballot. That motion is carried 9-0. That all you have, Mr. Ritchie?
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Economic Development Committee, Ms. Croy.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Economic Development Committee meeting was held on July 30th. The meeting was called to order at 5:15. Motion to approve the agenda was carried by all. The June 25th meeting minutes were reviewed and approved, carried by all. There was no public comment. The museum director, Cross, provided information about the public museum's plans for a historic downtown walking tour on Saturday, October 12th. The last downtown walking tour was in 2013. The goal of the walking tour is to welcome the community back to the downtown following the reconstruction project, bring awareness to the museum, and highlight the history of New London. 9 buildings in the downtown area will be featured on the tour, offering insights into their history and the businesses that have occupied them over time. Cross concluded her presentation by providing details on advertising, volunteering, and sponsorship opportunities for the event. Kim Chonos, owner of Events Everlasting, addressed the committee with a proposal to create a beer garden and event space on city-owned property just east of the new SC Swiderski development. The concept includes construction of a new building with a garage door that opens to outdoor seating. Chonos explained that her plans primarily include offering craft beers and wines from Wisconsin breweries and wineries, hosting farmers markets, live music, and outdoor domes during colder months. The plan does not include a commercial kitchen, but allows people to bring in food from other local businesses or purchase from food trucks. In conjunction with Chonos's proposal, the committee discussed an opportunity for designing placemaking spaces adjacent to the proposed beer garden. Director of Park and Recreation Seoul provided the committee with information about an opportunity to hire students working on their planning and landscape architecture master's degrees from the UW-Madison. To graduate, each student needs to complete a community planning and design project, and most pair up with Wisconsin communities to provide these services. The project includes a vision and concept design for a community initiative. The city's only cost would be for transportation, lodging, and meals, typically between $500 and $1,500, and an application would need to be submitted by August 9th to be considered for the project. The motion was made to submit the community design and planning application. And that was carried by all. A motion was made to direct the city administrator to negotiate a developer's agreement with Kim Chonos for the downtown beer garden concept on the city's property east of SC Swiderski. That was carried by all. Chamber Director's Business Report, a new business called Custom Canine Grooming opened at 311 South Pearl Street. Northern Belle Boutique at 1927 North Shawano Street, Suite C, recently completed some storefront renovations. The large screen at Grand Cinema Theater is currently closed due to some roofing issues on the older section of the building. The smaller screens in the newer buildings are still open and showing movies. New commercial listings include 307 West North Water Street, 307 Smith Street, and the price for the Wolf River Plaza dropped to 1.2 million. City Administrator's Report, the advertisement to promote the committee's placemaking survey has been inserted into the next utility billing. The deadline for the survey is September 13th. The Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation is releasing a new grant to assist small businesses. More information is expected to be released in the next month. Information from Fox Valley Technical College was distributed to assist new businesses in forming or expanding. The city has been provided with an offer to purchase land in the industrial park for supporting facilities for a proposed solar farm north of New London. More details will be forthcoming at a future committee meeting. Future agenda items were discussed, and this was the last meeting for Student Representative Wyatt Adamovich. Wyatt talked about his future college plans, and the committee thanked him for his involvement on the committee for the past few years. Next meeting is scheduled for August 27th at 5:15. Meeting was adjourned at 6:12. And that is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Moving along, minutes and reports distributed will stand as read in your packets. Reports of officers and recent events, announcements to the public. Start off with the mayor's announcements. What I have on my agenda is to consideration to adjust the start time of the regular city council meetings. I've been asked by members of staff if we would entertain moving the meeting earlier to 6:30 maybe. Open up for discussion. We can leave it where it is, we can move it. Any discussion at all?
About 5:30.
Earlier the better is, I think 7 is a little late.
Yeah, just like the other meetings are 5:15. Everybody's usually here.
I would consider 6:30, keeping in mind of our electors that a 9 to 5 job is typical. And with schooling and getting kids out of sports and dinners and stuff like that, that allows the ability for them to make the later meetings. Therefore, is reasons why meetings are later to begin with.
My kids in sports, you go earlier at 6:30, I won't be here.
We can table it and leave it the way it is.
I support the move to go to 6:30.
Yeah, I would second that also.
Motion been made by Mr. Roberts, seconded by Mr. Hess for moving the common council meeting to 6:30.
It does have to be ordinance, so I would, I can prepare something for the next meeting.
Okay.
That is it's in our ordinance, so.
So then we'll bring that back to the next meeting
But you guys want 6:30?
or 6:30. Everybody okay with that? I mean, is that any further discussion on it?
Well, doesn't matter what I personally like, but because I'm just one person, but I can honestly see for staff time, because there's one, you know, talking like 7 staff.
The department heads.
So it'd really be, and for staff benefit, they could come in an hour later on a Tuesday or whatever. But I don't think they really gain much at all by 6:30. In fact, it might just be. Now they got less, now they can't even get a little snack before, you know. I don't see what the problem would be going to 6, you know, from 7 down to 6, because then you gain something for them. And you know, it's not just this nickel. I mean, when the school board did it, we thought, oh, you know, boy, we're really gonna eliminate a lot of people by. It was very smooth going from 7 to 6 p.m. for school board meetings but we start doing half-hour things, and then we're gonna get to where confusion about when meetings are and stuff, but I don't know. I'm in favor of 6:30, the motion's out there, but really what do you gain? Or is it the end of the world to go to 6?
Well, I think it's, if we have a member of council who can't make it at 6, then it becomes an issue for him to be able to represent his district. So I think that does become an issue then.
And I think as a whole, I mean, we're talking about
People living in Apple.
one gentleman or a few, one way or the other, but look at the long term, what it means to potential other persons. Or mayor.
Me personally, 7:30, you know, I would want the other way, but that's beside the point. I'm just saying, like, for staff time. I don't know, see how it works for you guys. People that gotta drive an hour home, that half an hour does mean something to them, but. So, yeah, I guess, try it.
Can somebody from staff, Chad, can you please speak on that?
Yep, and I was just gonna, comment, thank you for the consideration. Obviously, it's because of that. We've had numerous staff members, request for an earlier start time, just because waiting around, barely time to go home, come back, and then you're back for the committee meeting. So it's been more than one. So just the consideration is really appreciative, just the staff member front. And it's been more than one. It just hasn't been, a few. It's been several staff members that have, shown interest in it by far.
Census still 6:30?
Start there and maybe a few more earlier.
All right.
3.
Some of us still work.
Really?
All right, that's all I had on my agenda. Moving on to clerk and the election updates.
You'll notice in your packet that I included information on the August election, the partisan primary turnout. But we had about 1,200 voters come out and vote, which is 35% of registered voters, which is a pretty good turnout for an August election. We didn't get complaints from anyone on the new polling place. Things went pretty well. We have some tweaks that we're gonna put in for the November election, but that was a fairly smooth transition. So the clerk's office, definitely we thank you for combining that. That made a lot of less work for me and Chris. And the street department, that was a lot less work for them. I think they thanked us like 3 times. So that change was helpful for staff. There's not a lot of turnaround until the November election. So absentee ballots will need to go out for the November election for anyone that has a request in on September 19th. So the pretty quick turnaround, and we'll be looking towards the presidential election there. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Ragerson. City Administrator, Mr. Hurd.
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll talk about this a little bit more at the next economic development meeting, but I was just kind of informed that the city in the past has been part of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation's Connect Communities program for about 3 years now. It's a networking and information program from the state designed to help communities improve their downtowns and even possibly progress, consider to progress the next step, which is apply for and be awarded a Main Street America designation. We've just been informed that due to our participation in the Connect Communities program, we've earned a designation of a gold tier Connect Communities for the 2025 year. Only 6 communities in Wisconsin receive this honor each year. And because of that, we get to take advantage of some planning and impact studies provided by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. So again, we'll talk about more economic development, but I just found that out and I thought that was really nice to share that. Because of our participation, we've gotten a gold tier Connect Community status for next year. Along the same lines, Chairman Belinda Croy talked about the Economic Development Committee is working towards collecting input about the potential future placement project that we're talking about in the downtown. We're still asking for the community's input. So if anybody who wants to fill out the survey, you can go to the city's website, www.newlondonwi.org/survey. And then you can get to the survey there and provide us that input. Again, that's going to be open till September 13th. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Chief of Police, Mr. Schleter.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to thank everyone that came out for National Night Out. We had a really good showing this year. And I think a lot of kids had a lot of fun. And I would also like to thank Ashley Bosquez from our PD that put a lot of work into that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Schleter. Moving along, Director of Public Works, Mr. Garsky.
Thank you, Your Honor. Downtown construction has switched to phase 2. Expect North Water Street and Pearl Street intersection to be closed until sometime in October. Some items in phase 1 are still outstanding and will be worked on as time allows and pieces come in, such as light poles. The light poles are now in and they will be installed starting tomorrow. However, the luminaires or light fixtures are not in and won't be in until the end of September. So temporary fixtures will be put up to provide some lighting downtown. On another note, you might notice a couple individuals walking around some sections of town, painting lines on sidewalks and taking photos of them for documentation. These individuals are from the Safe Step program and are marking out areas of sidewalk for repair. This work will be completed this fall and may carry over into spring if necessary. There is no assessment to property owners for this work. Also, public works crews will be out on Oshkosh Street next week doing some underground work for upcoming reconstruction projects for next year. There will be 6 gravel patches in the roadway. Those will be in the roadway for a couple weeks before we put asphalt patch on top of them. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Garsky. Director of Park and Recreation, Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Festival Foods Fireworks will be holding their rain date for the 4th of July fireworks to conclude Wheels on Werner Allen Boulevard, or Werner Allen Road, on Friday, September 13th. Fireworks will be viewable from the car show area and in Hatton Park. The show will start at dusk, which is approximately 7:30 on September 13th. You can watch our social media for more details for that event. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan.
Thank you.
Fire Department, Mr. Ritchie.
We have 3 anniversaries for this month. One is Brandon Winnick, he's got 12 years. Cale Wilfer's got 8 years, and Tyler Guyette's got 8 years. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. And last but not least, Utilities Manager, Mr. Bessett.
Your Honor, on August 1st at 9 p.m., 736 East Beacon Street, apartment number 3, called and reported no power. Crews responded and determined it to be a customer's breaker. On August 11th, 210 West Spring Street reported a loud bang and no power. Crews replaced a fuse and restored power to approximately 5 or 6 houses. On August 19th at 7:30 p.m., 419 East Quincy called, reported a large branch on a wire. Crews responded and removed the branch. And then last, I'd like to recognize Kerry Kraus for 9 years of service and Jack Knights for completion of 1 year of service this month for the utilities. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bessett. The only thing left on the agenda is for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Roberts, second by Mr. Pache. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Very good.